A new report highlights the role of terror groups, conflicts, and corruption on human rights worldwide. Turning Nigeria's disabled from beggars to workers. And landmarks across the U.S. light up to celebrate marriage equality. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. We'll have those stories in a moment. But first, Britain, Germany, and Tunisia are among the nation's mourning citizens who were killed in a deadly gun attack Friday in the worst massacre in Tunisia's modern history. 39 people were killed. It's the second major massacre in Tunisia this year, following the Islamist militant assault on Tunis' border museum in March. The interior ministers of Britain, Germany, and Tunisia laid flowers at the site of the shooting on Monday. Most of the victims of the attack at the Imperial Marhaba Rue Hotel in Sousse were British. The ministers also observed a minute's silence on the beach. Security was tight around the site ahead of the visit, with armed police and military stationed nearby and boats patrolling the sea. While Tunisian authorities are searching for potential accomplices in connection with Friday's mass shooting, and Britain says it is launching its own investigation into the killings. Tunisia's Interior Ministry spokesman says that while a single Tunisian militant dressed in black carrying an assault rifle hidden in an umbrella perpetrated the attack, officials say they are sure he had help beforehand. Belgium, Ireland and Portugal also had citizens killed in the assault. Tunisia is mobilizing 1,000 extra police officers to tourist sites and beaches by Wednesday. And Prime Minister Habib Essid says about 80 mosques known for radical preaching would be shut down. The Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for the Tunisian attack, as well as Friday's suicide bombing of a mosque in Kuwait and a deadly assault on a chemical plant in France. Now, the newly released U.S. State Department 2014 report on human rights practices highlights terror groups, rising conflicts, corruption and poor governance as key problems around the world. But it also cites some progress. VOA's Mary Alice Salinas has more.
A rise in extremist groups like Islamic State, government crackdowns on dissent in countries like Egypt, and an increase in conflicts such as the one in eastern Ukraine. Events like this made 2014 a tough year for human rights, says U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, who unveiled the report.
The message at the heart of these reports is that countries do best when their citizens fully enjoy the rights and freedoms to which they are entitled.
In the Middle East, the report blames Islamic State and other radical groups for horrific crimes, human crises, and the displacement of millions of people in Syria and Iraq. In Africa, government corruption and poor governance are blamed for creating fertile ground for groups like Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab.
When trust in government is lost, other, more harmful forces always try to fill the vacuum.
In Europe, Russia is cited for tightening its grip on open media, civil society, and dissenting voices. In Asia, China and Thailand are accused of stifling civil liberties. In Latin America, Venezuela is cited for harassing and incarcerating government critics. Other governments, Iran, Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Saudi Arabia, are accused of targeting journalists, bloggers, and nonviolent critics. U.S. officials say that while the pushback against civil societies seeking change is disturbing, it also signals progress.
It's threatening to many authoritarian governments, and that can be very depressing. But at the same time, we have to remind ourselves that one reason why governments like Russia, like China, like Azerbaijan, like Ethiopia, and so on are pushing back against civil society is that this kind of activism is extremely effective, and it has moved the world towards greater respect for democratic freedoms.
Secretary Kerry acknowledged U.S. problems with racial discord and unrest in the last year. It's a report that carries weight, says Sarah Margon of Human Rights Watch.
Because it's such an honest assessment, it's actually a great yardstick or a measuring tool, if you will, for outside actors and even for inside government officials to take a look at their policy prescriptions and hold themselves to account.
Kerry expressed hope that some troubled regions will be prodded to make changes that will lead to greater human rights. Mary Alice Salinas, VOA News, the State Department.
Well, at least 11 people died in Chad Monday when security forces stormed an illegal arms depot east of the capital, N'Djamena. Security officials say they killed 6 Islamic militants and lost 5 of their own men when a militant detonated an explosives belt he was wearing. The operation is the latest by security forces in Chad after suicide bombers killed 34 people in N'Djamena on June the 15th. That attack by suspected Boko Haram militants on 2 police officers was the largest of its kind in Chad. Chad has played a leading role in helping Nigerian forces win back territory from Boko Haram. Well, now the Burundian parliament elections are nearly over Monday, despite an opposition boycott and criticisms from the United Nations and African Union questioning the free and fair nature of that vote. President Pierre Nkurunziza's decision to run for a 3rd term in office triggered a failed coup last month, and Burundi's constitutional court has ruled he is eligible because he was first elected by parliament, not voters, in 2005. But one man casting his ballot expressed optimism that those elected would serve the people of Burundi.
I want those we are electing to serve the community and the deputies. I would like them to give us peace and lead the country positively.
Well, AU Chief Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma expressed concern about what she called the serious political and security situation in Burundi. She says the AU, UN, and regional bodies had called for Burundi to delay the vote until July the 30th, along with the presidential vote now set for July the 15th, but that the government has not accepted. She said that is not that face of its history, and that the political turmoil has serious implications for peace and security in the country and the region. Now, for more perspective on Burundian elections, Innocent Muhozi, Director of Radio and Television Renaissance in Burundi, joins us by phone from Bujumbura. Mr. Muhozi, first, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Now, the elections took place regardless of the request by the African Union and others. How did how was the conduct of the election itself?
Okay. Today it seemed that everything was calm. In Bujumbura, there were almost not so much people going to elect the parliament members and the mayors of cities. But in the countryside, it seems like there was a little more people because maybe of pressure of the administration on the people. So things were calm, even if last night there was a lot of violence, gunshots and grenades thrown in the main areas of the city.
Now, how credible would these elections be considered, given that even the African Union said it would not observe them?
You know, it's not only the African Union that have not observed them. The European Union did the same. The United Nations said that those elections were not in a democratic context. So there is not a credibility at all about those elections because there is a lot of violence. There is no freedom of press. All the independent media have been attacked and burned by the policemen. The opposition cannot campaign, they cannot have meetings. The leaders of opposition are not in security, as they say. Some of them have been killed, many others went in exile. A lot of people, high-ranked members of the ruling party now have run away from the country. There's a very, 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 very heavy situation where people seem to really to fear what is happening around. So there's not a credibility of this process.
Now, Mr. Muhozi, it looks like President Nkurunziza and his government are ignoring all this, even the calls from outside. Why do you think that is the case?
You know, they don't care about what people are saying from outside because it's a very strange government. It's a very strange government. As everybody knows, we are one of the poorest countries in the world. We depend very, very, very powerfully from the outside help, economic help. But the group that is ruling Burundi today, it seems that it's a group that fear a lot to quit the power because of the crimes, because of the attempt to human rights, the corruption. It seems like it's a group that is really afraid of leaving the power than anything else. So it seems like they are just going through what all the people and all the world is saying because of the fear they have themselves of losing the power.
Well, we'll keep watching developments in Burundi. Mr. Muhoozi, thank you very much for your insight. Mr. Muhoozi is the Director of Radio and Television Renaissance in Burundi. Now going to Europe. World markets tumbled Monday in the face of the Greek debt crisis, even as Athens shut its banks and sharply curtailed withdrawals at ATM machines. European Union nations are awaiting a breakthrough in the crisis before the country's second bailout program expires on Tuesday. Africa 54's Esther Githu-Ewart has more.
The cash-strapped country ordered its banks and stock market closed for 6 days beginning Monday. Pensioners lined up early at the bank branches and tried in vain to access their funds.
I need 20 euros to buy medicine tomorrow. Will I be able? Is it still there? Who will give it back? They should all go to hell. All those who are good for nothing. They have to eat and drink. Have they asked me what will I do? I have worked for 40 years. Where is my money? They made all these cuts and now.
Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras went on national television Sunday to announce the moves hours after the European Central Bank said it will not continue an emergency loan program that had allowed Greek banks to remain open in recent weeks.
Remember this? During these critical hours, when we all face up to the stature of our history, our only fear is fear. We will not let it overcome us.
Mr. Tsipras' announcement came after weekend talks between Greek negotiators and their European creditors ended without a deal on terms of an ongoing cash for reforms bailout. Earlier Sunday, Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis hinted that Athens might not make a $1.8 billion payment to the International Monetary Fund. The Prime Minister blamed European creditors for the crisis that threatens Greece's membership in the 19-nation euro currency bloc. On the current timetable, the banks and stock market will remain closed until Greek voters decide in a July 5th referendum whether to accept new austerity measures demanded by the country's creditors. Esther Githu-Ewart, VOA News, Washington.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, empowering Nigeria's disabled with new skills. Stay with us.
Wherever you are, Voice of America is on. On air, reaching more than 130 million weekly, worldwide, in more than 40 languages. Online, social media, and breaking news from around the world. On the go, dozens of new features on popular platforms with new apps and trending topics. Voice of America, on air, online, on the go.
Welcome back. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court decision mandating marriage equality nationwide has energized gay rights supporters worldwide. Gay rights remain a highly contentious issue in a key U.S. ally, South Korea. The issue has often caused tensions between Christian protesters and gay activists. Kat Ekin reports from Seoul.
A massive police presence and physical barriers kept thousands of Christian activists from accessing a gay pride festival Sunday near Seoul City Hall. But just outside the perimeter, they beat the drums of condemnation. Church groups held signs blaming homosexuality for the spread of AIDS and saying gay love and gay marriage have no place in Korea.
When something is wrong, you must tell them that that is wrong. You cannot just keep your distance or try to hide it. You need to tell them with no uncertainty that if they live this way, their small pleasures will cause your family and your nation to suffer.
But once inside the heavily guarded perimeter, a festive mood prevailed at the Pride Festival. Visitors got a chance to snap a photo with likenesses of President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama at an exhibition booth sponsored by the United States Embassy.
We see this as part of our policy on global human rights. The fact that we are here supporting a Korean festival, which has been around for 16 years with about a dozen other embassies, I think we all really just want to show that we are supportive of LGBT human rights here in Korea.
Sunday's event culminated in a march around the local area by tens of thousands of gay rights supporters. Despite some occasional taunting across the barricades, the clashes many feared never happened, something many credit to the crowd control proficiency of the South Korean police force. Gay activists are dismissive of the Christian group's hard-line approach to same-sex issues.
They say that they know the Bible. They say that the Bible teaches that homosexuality is bad. But what they are showing is not love. So this is hypocrisy. This is the epitome of hypocrisy. This is the epitome of hate.
For now, the mood is upbeat, but South Korean gay activists know they have a long, uphill struggle to achieve the kind of breakthrough the recent Supreme Court decision gave their counterparts in the United States. Kurt Asian for VOA News, Seoul.
Well, an estimated 20 million people in Nigeria have physical handicaps. With few opportunities for work, many have resorted to street begging. But a group of disabled men in Kaduna State are encouraging others to get off the street by empowering them with new skills. Mohammed Yusuf explains.
These men are waiting for food from a local charity. It may be their only meal today. Disabled most rely on street begging to sustain them. Unlike the others queuing here, 18-year-old Aliyu Yakubu is learning to fix tricycles and do other metal work to earn a living. Yakubu remembers the moment he decided to quit begging.
My former class prefect saw me begging on the street and didn't recognize me. He gave me some money. When I stretched my hand out to collect it, then he saw my face. I felt ashamed, and since then, I decided not to beg again.
Instructor Isiaka Maji, himself physically disabled, helps people like Yakubu get off the streets and learn a trade. He got his own skills from a state-run vocational rehabilitation training program and has been training others since 2002. 5 years ago, he began encouraging physically challenged people to abandon begging.
We encourage people like us to learn skills they can use to become self-reliant, to support themselves and their families, because being in the streets as beggars is a disgrace to all of us.
So far, he has helped and trained 30 people, some of whom now have their own metal workshop. They make tricycles and motorbikes designed for the handicapped, but also doors and windows to sell. But a member of the Handicapped Association, shop owner Ridwan Abdullahi, says the general public is not buying despite the good quality of their products.
I believe the society are seeing the goods or the product made by a person with disability as disabled too.
These men used to overcoming challenges say this is one more hurdle the disabled face. They say they will tackle it by raising awareness with the help of the government and the community. Mohammed Yusuf for VOA News, Kaduna, northern Nigeria.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, the White House lights up in rainbow colors to celebrate marriage equality. We'll be right back.
Here's your sauce.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending.
Good people. Amazing grace.
U.S. President Barack Obama led thousands of mourners in singing Amazing Grace at the funeral for the slain church pastor killed in a South Carolina shooting rampage earlier this month. The president also urged Americans to eliminate symbols of oppression and racism, including the Confederate battle flag, to mend the fabric of the nation. Well, next up, the White House and other American landmarks were lit with the colors of rainbow Friday night in honor of the Supreme Court's ruling that marriage equality is a constitutional right throughout the country. Also bathed in rainbow were One World Trade Center in New York City, Niagara Falls between Ontario, Canada and New York State, and several city halls. Meanwhile, in Dallas, Texas, George Harris, 82, and Jack Evans, 85, were the first same-sex couple to officially marry in the county. The couple had waited over 50 years to tie the knot. Texas Republican leadership blasted the court ruling as an affront to states' rights and an insult to God. Well, and finally, as students listen to their teacher in this Canberra classroom, there's another special pupil paying attention. Meet Molly, a silky terrier service dog trained to help twins Hannah and Olivia. They both have type 1 diabetes and anxiety. Molly is there to keep an eye on their health and alert the teacher to any problems. Molly has been specially trained to detect when either of the girls' glucose levels become unstable and to calm them down when they become anxious. The concept for assistance dog originated in the United States, and the service is now in use across all states and territories of Australia. As for Molly, she has become a Fari's third sister and will soon be joining the girls at school full-time. And that is what is trending today. Now, Africans living in the U.S. and the larger metropolitan area of Washington, D.C. were recently treated to a beauty pageant with a purpose. Dubbed Miss Culture, intercontinental beauty contestants from different countries of Africa danced to the African beat, expressing their appreciation of their diverse background. Again, Africa 54's Esther Gido-Ewart has our report.
The pageant took place at Howard University with girls aged between 18 and 27 dressed in various costumes representing different countries of Africa. Fatoumata Koroma, a Sierra Leonean national living in the U.S., organized the pageant. She says the judges were looking for ladies who can be good ambassadors for Africa.
We definitely want ladies that are attentive, that are leaders, that follow directions, that are well-mannered, great character, great personality, poise, elegance.
While some look at contestants as a bunch of beautiful girls showing off their beautiful bodies and attire, the Miss Culture Intercontinental pageant portrayed beauty with brains. Sandra Lucy Asamoah, who took home the crown, says that is the kind of platform she was looking for.
It's a pageant that, showcases empowerment for women. And, it gives you the opportunity to build on your platform, take it to another level, and reach out to the community while showing beauty and style and talent. So I thought it would be a good pageant for me to compete in and showcase all of my good quality.
The organizer, Ms. Koroma, says the pageant was African-inspired. It incorporated music from Africa, and the girls did their jig to the African beat.
The ladies did have their talents from their different cultures. So they gave their own performances and their talent, spoken word, singing. The opening act was an African dance also. So we definitely wanted to get the cultural African feel.
The highlight of the beauty pageant was the crowning moment. And for Nigerian-born Sandra Lucy Asamoah, it was life-changing.
I was really emotional. I burst out in tears because I didn't expect it. I mean, it was just so much going on for me, and I was really honored and blessed. I was happy.
Sandra says the crown comes with responsibility, and she has a clear mission to end the cycle of poverty in the world, starting with her own village in Nigeria. Vincent, I gotta tell you, I did borrow the crown for a minute to help me walk down memory lane when I was in my 20s. How did I look?
Well, it was an exciting weekend in sports for all of the highlights. We turn to Sunny Young with the sunny side of sports. Hello, Sunny.
Hello, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. Let's tip off in Juba, the capital of South Sudan, where the inaugural Manute Bowl Memorial Basketball Tournament was recently held. The competition at the Juba Basketball Stadium featured South Sudan's 4 top clubs, Malakia, Black Stars, Nimba Talata, and National Engineering. In addition to keeping alive the legacy of Bowl, who died in 2010, organizers say they wanted to spread messages of peace and unity through basketball. One of Bowl's former teams, the 2015 NBA champion Golden State Warriors, donated T-shirts for the event. Manute Bowl's cousin, Nicola Bowl, is one of the tournament organizers.
The theme of this tournament is that sport can unite us. And under that theme, basketball is one of the most popular sports in South Sudan. And therefore, if you look around today, these spectators are from all the races of South Sudan. And that is what it means, bringing them together to share something that they love. They share what they love, which is basketball.
Nicola Bowl says they're already planning for future Manute Bowl tournaments and will invite teams from neighboring countries and some of Bowl's former NBA teammates to take part. The Black Stars Club, which we saw huddling on the court, was the overall winner of this year's tournament. I'm VOA's Sunny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Vincent?
Thank you, and that's our show for today. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute, where we teach you all about idioms in American English. There are times when something occurs and you might say, "This left a bad taste in my mouth." What does this phrase mean?
A bad taste in my mouth.
Hey, how was your vacation?
It was great, but we had all of the money stolen from our hotel room.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I know. The whole thing left a really bad taste in my mouth.
If something leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth, you feel there is something wrong about the situation. It gives you an unpleasant feeling or memory. Of course, you also can eat something that literally leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Either way, if something leaves a bad taste in your mouth, it isn't good. And that's English in a Minute.